Hello everybody. In this particular session, we will briefly touch upon what is an item, and moreover, we will elaborately learn what is meant by hara. Item is nothing but a system or combination of systems to which ISO 262 is applied that implements a function or a part of function at the vehicle level. For example, if you want to implement adaptive cruise control, then what are all the various functionalities that are involved? What are all the various systems that are involved? It may be the system which decelerates the vehicle. It may be the system which drives the vehicle at a uniform velocity. May be the system which ensures that acceleration is happening at the right pace. So all these things, all this combination is called a system, and this system or combination of systems is called an item. Now, what is meant by item definition? The item definition is the entity responsible for integrating item into vehicle is typically an OEM, and they must create a work product called item definition. The entity responsible for integrating item is typically an OEM. Always understand this. Most of the time, not most of the time, 100% of the time, because this is being implemented at automobile level, this responsibility of integrating an item into the vehicle typically falls on the shoulders of OEM. And the item definition may be single or collection of work products. So an item can be a single or collection of work product. It may be a single work product or a multiple work product. And the item definition should be reviewed and approved by functional safety team. So before a item definition is finalized, it must be clearly revised by the functional safety team whether the item definition is completely encompassing the scope of the entire functionality. So the item definition in that work product, whether all the functionalities are covered, all the activities of that particular functionality. Again, let me go back to that adaptive cruise control. Adaptive cruise control has several functionalities, like maintaining the vehicle at a uniform velocity, maintaining the vehicle at a certain distance from the previous vehicle, or maintaining a certain rate of acceleration or deceleration. All these things should be clearly mentioned in the item definition. Now let's talk about the so-called hazard analysis and risk assessment. Now this is a very important part of this ISO 26262. Actually, I would say this is a very important fulcrum on which the HARA rests. The objective of this HARA are to identify, classify, or categorize the hazardous events caused by malfunctioning behavior of the item. So we have to, the first sentence clearly says that we have to classify and categorize the hazardous events. So what are all the various chances of a particular system going wrong? And when I say system, I am strictly talking about electrical and electronic systems. Please understand, all along we are discussing only the faults that arise due to the malfunctioning of electrical and electronic systems, and to formulate and specify the safety goals with their corresponding ASILs related to prevention and mitigation of the hazardous task in order to avoid the unreasonable risk. Now, as I said before also, I will clearly explain what a ASIL is coming slides in the same session. Okay, as of now, please remember ASIL stands for Automotive Safety Integrity Level. Typically, HARA is done by OEMs, and it may be done by Tier 1 or Tier 2 in case they develop any item or element. Okay, as it is mentioned here, HARA is typically done by the OEMs because the end functionalities are the responsibility of the OEM. But Tier 1 or Tier 2, which are developing a certain component or certain element or certain product, they also can do internal HARA so that they can supply a foolproof or a fail-safe component to the OEM. Hazard analysis and risk assessment has two subparts. One is hazard analysis and other is risk assessment. We will discuss each subpart one after the other in a slightly elaborate manner. What is hazard analysis? Hazard analysis typically connects the malfunctions and effects of the scenario. First of all, you have to identify the various functions of the item, because unless and until we are clear about the functions of the items, we cannot identify where the functionality can go wrong. So identifying the function of the item is of paramount importance. Next is identify the various situations in which item operates or the vehicle operates. Actually, there is one item called design domain task. which also means that what is the exact driving task for which a particular design is for which a particular item is designed. Identify all the malfunctions of the item. Malfunctions should be in context of functions and item purposes. Identify all the possible malfunctions of the function. Now this is very important because we have to ensure that we are exhaustively identifying all the various probabilities or various ways in which an item can go wrong. Define effects of malfunctions when malfunction happens in a particular operational scenario. The combination of malfunction operation scenario is called hazardous situation. Okay, hazardous situation is more or less a hypothetical situation. I mean, it is not exact, it is just a situation where you speculate that a certain malfunction is happening in a particular scenario which can lead to hazardous situation. Both are important, malfunction and operational scenario. For example, if a vehicle is going on a straight road, if suddenly brakes are applied automatically, if no vehicle is behind the vehicle, then there is no hazard or there is no accident. But if the vehicle suddenly brakes and there is another truck or a lorry behind your vehicle, there is a good chance that the behind vehicle like truck or lorry can collide with your vehicle. That operational scenario is important, and that is the hazardous situation. So you have to understand, to identify a hazard analysis, we have to clearly mention both the malfunction and operational scenario. Now we have to identify the ASL based on the hazard analysis and risk assessment. We have to identify the ASL, and to ASL identification comprises of three major parameters. One is severity, other is exposure, and controllability. What is severity? As you can see from the table itself, the severity is classified into four categories, where S0 stands for no injuries and S3 stands for life-threatening injuries or fatal injuries. Okay, so we have to identify, if at all a particular hazardous situation happens, will the passenger suffer no injury or a life-threatening injury? That is called severity. And next comes the exposure. Exposure means something which is having very low probability, and E4 stands for high probability. Okay, as you can, if at all you are watching this session, you can pause the video and see very clearly what is meant by very low probability, what is meant by low probability, medium probability, and high probability, which is clearly mentioned here. So exposure is more or less the probability of which a particular hazardous situation can occur. Now next is controllability. If at all a hazardous situation happens, how easy or how difficult is it to control? Again, you can pause the video and see what is meant by C0, what is meant by C1, what is meant by C2, what is meant by C3. The lesser the percentage of drivers can control, more difficult is the controllability. And more easily it is controllable, or more percentage of drivers can control the vehicle, then that means it is very easily controllable. Now in this particular slide, as you can see on the right side, this is the table which is of highest importance, right bottom where controllability, exposure, and severity are clearly mentioned. Now ASL A stands for the least severity or the least hazardous situation, and ASL D stands for the highest hazardous situation. As I have already mentioned, severity means how would the passengers or drivers or nearby vehicle be affected. Probability or frequency or exposure means how likely is it for something to occur that could cause failure. Controllability of failure. If a system or product does end up failure, developers must consider the way in which something happens. Perhaps you can avoid excessive damage via quick reactions or fail-safe measures. So product of controllability, exposure, and severity, as you can see in this table, will clearly give you an automotive safety integrity level. Now depending upon the ASL level, whether it is ASL level A or ASL level B or ASL level D, you formulate the safety goal. Now there is a small modification for motor safety safety integrity level. Now this is the table from where you can convert ASL level for automobile to ASL level to motorcycles. It is very much similar to what is given for uh, for automobile, but the slight change which can be seen in this particular table. The final step is formulating the safety goal. Starting point of functionality is safety, functional safety concept. So finally, after the ASIL level is completed, after the finalizing the ASIL levels for each and every functionality is completed, you formulate a safety goal. Safety goal can be something very simple. For example, if you say airbag should not open or inflate when driving the vehicle without a collision, that is a safety goal. Or if you can mention a safety goal, that accelerator should not get actuated without the driver's intervention, that's also a safety goal. All these things are safety goals. Now once the safety goal is formulated, you verify the HARA, a independent third party, so to prevent the OEMs from cheating or indulging in any kind of fraud. An independent third party will verify the HARA, and the same third party or another third party can confirm the HARA. Now let me reiterate one thing. This understanding HARA undertaking for a given automobile is a huge undertaking. It is not a small job, because sometimes it can go up to 500 to 600 ASILs or 500 to 600 safety goals for a given vehicle. It is only after repeated performing the HARA that one can gain expertise and confidence to do the same effortlessly. So it is only after repeatedly you perform this HARA for a automobile you can gain you can gain expertise for to perform a HARA for a given automobile independently.